This was sealed. All my troubles seem so far away. Now it looks as though they're here to stay. Oh, I believe in yesterday. Suddenly, I'm not half the man I used to be.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Dr. Duncan McCollum coming to you from McCollum Wellness Radio. What a great day to be alive. What a great day to be in Santa Cruz. I was coming in from Aptos, going through the village, Capitola Village, like I usually do. And it's just nice to see people out strolling, having a good time. And boy, I'll tell you, is it a clear day? You can see all of the bay. You can see all the way down to Pacific Grove, and you can almost see every shadow of every mountain as you come in. And it's kind of a nice perspective because if you really take a look at, your individual life on this planet, then you take a look at what's going on in your county and the state and the United States, the government, the world. Sometimes it can be kind of depressing. But it's so nice to take a step back and really look at what's going on in the life in your life because I played that song yesterday by the Beatles because there was one of the new book I'm working on is based on a lot of things about songs. Songs throughout my life have always been hallmarks of various changes, ups, downs, and as I'm sure with everybody growing up in the 60s, 70s, those songs were the greatest songs that ever came out. And all of them, or a good share of them, seem to have attached to them some kind of emotion. And it's really nice to be aware of that. I mean, sometimes unconsciously they can change your mood, and sometimes consciously they bring you back to moments of pleasure and or sadness or anything in between. So I just kind of wanted to touch on that because, so many people that I talk to in my office as patients and who I see out in the world and who I listen to on various social media, they seem to have a hard time, and I do as well, pushing the reset button. And the reset button is kind of a magic button because it means everything starts over again. And that might be naive to say, or it might be, yeah, but you don't know the truth of it thing. But you know what? I was out. Karen and I were out at dinner in Midtown a week or so ago, and we were sitting at a table that had some plants in between us and the next couple people. What I thought was very interesting. These gentlemen were older than me. I'm 69, at least they appeared to be older than me. And you couldn't help but hear their conversation as they were going on. And we looked at each other because Karen knows how I look at life and perspective. And I really believe that today is the first day of the rest of my life. And thank God that somebody, and it really was my mother who passed away when I was 17, put creation into my every thought. And it's really cool. I mean, I don't know how lucky I got and how willing I was, but this gentleman, I heard him say, yeah, when I was in second grade, I was upset about something. And, I was crying, and my father came in and said, son, don't ever cry again. It's bad, or something. And he goes, and I haven't cried since. And I went, wow, that must have been 60, 70 years ago. And that still owns you. So that's gone. The past is the past. There is no past. It's all present time and with a future to create. So I think it's a hard tool, but if you can learn to, and a lot of times it takes work, believe me, I've gone through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of working on myself and trying to overcome these boundaries that have handcuffed me or shackled me for years. And there were some pretty big ones. For years I couldn't read. I was, I'd broken my back when I was 12. You all know my story. I'm not saying that I had it any better or any worse than anybody else, but I just had it. And, you either move up or you move down, and how high and how low is completely up to you. You can look at a lot of different causes in your life in the past, present, and future that might block you from being able to do what you want. But I wanted to go over a poem that my dad had told me about when I was about 5 or 6 years old. And it's by a gentleman named Robert Service. And Robert Service was um, a writer back in the turn of the 1900s, and his book is called um, something of a sourdough. I forget. I'll remember what it is. But anyway, he wrote The Cremation of Sam McGee, The Shooting of Dan McGrew, all these great stories that captivated my life because not only were these poems written at the turn of the 1900s, but all of my grandparents were born in the 1800s. And my grandpa in 1883, my grandma on my mom's side, 1892. And even my grandpa's older brothers were born, they started in 1949 or 1849. So, I knew some of these guys. I knew three of my grandpa's brothers besides him, and they would tell stories of growing up in Salinas and of these outlaws like Tibucha Vasquez or Walking Marietta, and Three Finger Jack. And I would be captivated as we sat in their little farmhouses, down in the valley, and they would tell me these stories over and over again about, Walking Marietta, how he, would go rob from the miners or the Wells Fargo stagecoach, and he and Three Finger Jack would take off up into the mountains and hide the gold. And they grew up looking for that gold because they knew it was buried somewhere up in those mountains. And as I wrote my book called Coaling Station A, which is about Coalinga, the oil boomtown of the early 1900s, and my grandfather was the editor of the paper there, and he told me a lot of stories. So I wrote a murder mystery called Coaling Station A about the early boom days and the roughnecks, which are the oil um, diggers and stuff of the day. But in doing that, I researched Three Finger Jack and Walking Marietta and found out a bit about Walking Marietta. He was a gold miner, early gold miner, and he had had a really productive mine, but he was Hispanic, and the white man came and apparently stole his mine, killed his wife and kids. And so Walking Marietta had nothing to do but try to seek revenge and became an outlaw, but with just means. Um, but regardless, the curiosity of life was so embedded in me at that time, and hearing about my on my other side of the family talking about growing up on the ranches and farms, and that their father, my grandmother's father, had been a gold miner. No, her grandfather had been in Nevada fighting the Mexican-American War when it ended in 1849. And when it ended, he was in Nevada and gold was discovered. So he just went to Hangtown, modern day Placerville, and he made a ton of money. He found his struck gold, got a hold of his brother back in Iowa or Ohio, wherever he was. And he came out and stood guard as they made a fortune. Then he came to Santa Cruz and he bought 20,000 acres in SoCal. And unfortunately, when SoCal became part of the United States, somehow or another, he lost that all. So, from feast to famine, from famine to feast to famine again. But, he had fought for the country, so they gave him 160 acres. So he had that quarter of I forget what it's called. Um, I'll remember that in a minute. But, he was granted that land. So he went out to Hanford and became a pig farmer. Pretty crazy to go through all of that and become a pig farmer in Hanford, which is just back then, I'm sure it was beautiful. Um, the other side of the family came across in a ox cart from Illinois and arrived in Salinas in 1849. And my great great grandfather, Doug, Daniel Doug McDougall, James Daniel McDougall, became the first marshal of Salinas. At one point, he was shot in the lungs trying to break up um, a duel between two drunk guys in a bar. He got shot in the lung, didn't kill him. They took him up to Tassajara Hot Springs up back in the 1870s. And there he reclused and healed. He lived to be 84 years old, died still having a bullet in his lung. So these are kind of some of the stories you grow up with that creates imagination and the desire to create your own reality. So I want to, that's why I'm starting with basically the idea that today is the first day of the rest of your life. If you could change anything in your life right now, if you could wave a magic wand over your life, what would be different? Would your health be better? Would you have taken better care of it? Might you have taken better care of your friendships? There's a lot of things that we can wished we would have done different. But the really point is you're here today. And it's as tough as you make it. So here's a poem by Robert Service that I love. And my grandfather, my father gave this to me, and his grandfather had given it to him. And the poem's called Grin. And it was written in 1905 or 6, so excuse some of the grammar. But he says, if you're up against a bruiser and you're getting knocked about, grin. If you're feeling pretty groggy and you're licked beyond a doubt, grin. Don't let them see you flinching. Let them know with every clout. Though your face is battered to a pulp, your blooming heart is stout. Just stand upon your pins until the beggar knocks you out, and grin. This life's a baldy battle, and the same advice holds true of grin. If you're up against it badly, then it's only one on you. So grin. If the future's black as thunder, don't let the people see you blue. Just cultivate a cast iron smile of joy the whole day through. If they call you little sunshine, wish that they'd know troubles too. You may grin. Raise up in the morning with the will that's smooth or rough. You'll grin. Sink to sleep at night, and although you're feeling tough, yet grin. There's nothing gained by whining, and you're not that kind of stuff. You're a fighter from a way back, and you won't take a rebuff. Your troubles is you don't know when you've had enough. Don't give in. If fate should down you, just get up and take another cuff. You may bank on it that there is no philosophy like bluff, and yet grin. So that's a poem by Robert Service. I started reading that poem when I was probably in third or fourth grade, or had it read to me because I couldn't read very well. But it's really the way it is. Here you are right now. You might as well grin, or you can, lick your wounds and decide not to do anything. But the truth of the matter is, really, right now, it's completely up to you what you do. You might be infirmed. I understand. Wherever you start, um, you can always make your day go better or make somebody else's day go better. And that's the first step in healing, is to change the chemistry in your mind. So, what you think about, you talk about. What you talk about, you bring about. So grin. You know, um, one of the things that I see in my patients, in fact, I met with a gentleman the other day. It was actually a very interesting meeting. He came in off the radio show, I think. He might even be listening today for all I know. But I could tell that he had listened to, oh, no, he had listened to the show, and he was saying that, he'd had these different issues going on with his health, some chemical, some physical. And um, we did an exam consultation, pretty thorough, complete set of digital x-rays. And when we were going over it, I could see in him as he was looking at me that there was this, he was interested in me, but I knew that he didn't really trust the process or the system. And so I think I'm pretty good at communicating with people. So I realized that whether he was going to start as a patient or not, the main thing I wanted to do was have him go out with better information than when he came in. So our consultation might take half hour, 45 minutes on a normal second day. And I think we were there for an hour and a half. And I knew that I didn't have any other patients. It was pushing into lunch. And I just wanted to see what questions he had and answer them. And he had some health questions. He had some stuff going on with blood sugar, various body functions not working well. He had trouble walking long distances. He loved to golf, loved to play tennis. And I knew what was wrong with him, his spine structurally. We could see it. It was, it had some rough spots, but it didn't look as bad as mine. I mean, mine looks pretty darn bad. If you ever come in and you wonder, can you be helped? Ask to see my x-ray. As you know, I broke it when I was 12. So it's not in very good shape. But I think that it's a good idea to take stock of where you are and go, you know what? Look at the world. There's so much stress in the world. Stress comes in three different flavors. It is either mental, structural, or chemical. Those are the only three stressors they are. And if you let stress get a hold, it will shorten your life, no doubt. Stress breaks down the body's immune system, digestive system, causes inflammation in the body. Chronic inflammation causes chronic disease, and chronic disease is usually going to be the end of you unless you get hit by something. So I think the main thing I'm trying to do today, every once in a while I come on and I go, okay, what can I do to change the way people are thinking? Um, and I may or may never meet them, that's fine, but I hope to, because I think that there's people have so much to offer, and I get so much out of talking to people. So going on with this gentleman, I could tell that he was guarded, not in a bad way. He just had not heard everything I said. He had not heard in his life, from what I can tell, that the nervous system, of course, we all know the nerves come down out of the brain down the center spine, and then they exit and go to all 75 trillion cells in the body. You may not realize there's only 31 spinal nerves going to 75 trillion cells, but all function of all organs is determined by that nervous system. Any damage to the nervous system is going to damage the function of the organs or the communication to and from the brain. And what's really interesting when you're looking at, I'm doing a book on actually on sexual function. I've been doing a lot of research on that because of a lot of the things my patients tell me and their concerns. And what I've come to find is every single one of those 31 spinal nerves is important in function. Touch, what part of the skin those nerves go to, what organs they affect, and where they communicate to the brain. And also there's nerves that go from a body skin spot up to the brain, and then that can also go down back to that spot and or stimulate or retard organ function. So at any rate, we were talking about different organ function with him. And, a lot of gentlemen in older years have problems with their prostate. we realize that those nerves come out of the low back. And if those aren't working, the nerves aren't communicating well, what's the likelihood of having more problems there? And up in the upper back, those nerves go to the heart and lung muscles. And even though the brain tells the heart when to lub dub, the nerves that come out of the mid back go to the heart muscle itself and go to the blood vessels and expand or contract those blood vessels based on the perceived danger or excitement from the environment. And it turns on this nerve called the vagus nerve, which is the longest nerve in the body, because it's called the vagus nerve because it's vague on where it goes. It's the wandering nerve. Comes out of the top of the bottom of the skull, comes out of the spine there, not down the spine, and goes to every organ in your body, and it turns them off and on based on hormonal function and nervous and hormonal stimulation from the environment, perceived or imagined or real. So, at any rate, when we were talking, I was talking to this gentleman, and I could see still we went through the chiropractic structural part and why that could affect his body's ability to, he could play 9 holes, but after that, his body was very stiff and his legs felt like cement and he couldn't move from there. So, um, when you have problems with the nerves coming out of the low back, the extremities can't work well. The legs can't work very well. They only have so much power before they start to freeze up on you or something occurs. So then we started talking about organ function and health and energy and brain fog. And I knew that this was a new idea to him, or I believe it was, that toxicity in the body and the accumulation of toxins over our lifetime can affect our organ function and our brain function, even our body's energy. And so I started to explain how, where we get these toxins. And I showed him our heavy metal test that we do. It's called an oligoscan. And we can test the heavy metals through your hand with no blood draw. And, there's lots of different metals that get stuck in our body. Like, of course, mercury and lead are common. Tin, aluminum is very common now because it's falling out of the sky from airplane fuel into everything. It dissipates all over our food, our crops, our water, ourselves, our house, our lawn. And we are getting major exposure to aluminum, and aluminum is a major neurotoxin. Probably it and mercury are the 2 highest neurotoxins on the planet when it comes to heavy metals. So when you are exposed to those and your body, and they get into your bloodstream and your body can't get rid of them fast enough, your body has to get them out of the bloodstream so it doesn't kill you. That's to hide it. If you can't get rid of it, hide it. So that hides it in your fat cells and in your connective tissue. That way, you know, if you were to get your blood tested and you go to the doctor and go, I feel terrible, I have no energy, or I have these chronic inflammatory musculoskeletal conditions that have every name in the book, only describing a symptom, then, and if your blood and your body wants to keep that blood relatively clean, you're not going to find the problem in the blood. Basically, the blood work that you get is, I believe they take the 80th percentile of the average American in this country. So if you fall within that range, that your blood is, levels in your blood are within that 80% of the people, you are, quote, healthy, or they can't find your problem, unquote. The only problem with that is we're rated the worst health in the civilized nations. We're rated 47th in the world for health. So if you take people that are rated 47th in the world for health and you're using their blood work as a normal, I mean, the deck is already stacked against you. So 2 things there. Blood work, you need to have a major problem before blood work shows up typically. And usually because it won't show up, it's more microscopic issues that are causing the problem. Cellular inflammation is the key to almost all chronic inflammation, and it's overlooked by Western medicine to the point where they wait to drug the symptoms rather than fix the cause of the problem, which really is handle the cellular inflammation. I'll give you this example. So a lot of people know what diabetes is or have an idea about it. 60% of the population in our country are diabetic or pre-diabetic, so you're aware of it. And what the problem with diabetes is when you eat carbohydrates or even protein, because it breaks down into sugar, and eat enough of it, the blood fills up with sugar because that's the end product of carbohydrates or protein is sugar. And the worst food you eat, the quicker it turns to sugar. White bread turns to sugar in a heartbeat. It's like throwing newspaper on a fire. It goes and it's done. Things like broccoli burn a lot slower. I'll be putting like oak on your fireplace, in your fireplace. It will burn slow and hot. And um, the food that's processed basically burns like newspaper. It burns so quickly. It's it's very, very toxic. It would be like getting food from the grocery store that's packaged in plastic and then just eating the plastic and the cardboard and the food and all. That's how toxic this food is. There's so many particles in that food. And plastic, we all of us have at least a plastic spoon full of plastic in us. So microscopically, this plastic is in there getting in our organs, inside our cells, into our DNA now. And there's a way to test it. There's one place on the planet or in the United States that tests it so far. And we have that lab. We can test it. And that is along with your heavy metal load testing is a pretty good cross section of how to turn your body's health around from the upstream causes of problem. So an example is you got a boat that's sinking. Well, you better bail the boat out. And if you don't know how many holes it has or where they are, or maybe you can't get to them because they're under a floorboard, by the time you get to it or open the floorboard, the boat's sunk. So your health is on this sinking boat continuum, and you better bail the boat out before you look for the hole because it might be too late. Western medicine's really good at slowing down the leak. It doesn't necessarily bail it out, but it slows it down. But it doesn't find the upstream cause or the hole in the boat. So we're talking about the cell wall and inflammation on those 75 trillion cells and blood sugar that raises when you eat carbohydrates or protein. And that blood sugar has to get out of your blood into the cells to keep the blood level okay within safe limits so it doesn't get to your brain and cause you to have, a stroke or die of insulin poisoning. So it hides it. It hides it in fat cells. It wants to use it in your live cells of your body, all of those 75 trillion cells. But because of the toxic load, our cell walls are so inflamed that you can't get in and out easily. It's like having a real stuck heavy door or a door that's got so much junk in front of it, you can't get to the door. Or when you try to open it, the hinges are rusted shut and or you don't have the key. So our cell walls are loaded up with those doors, and they should open freely, letting good stuff in, letting bad stuff out, being very selective about what hormones go into what cell and such. But because of the toxicity at a cellular level, and I'll explain why in a minute, our cells can't easily absorb the nutrients. And when they do, they can't easily get the exhaust out of the cell because every time you make energy, you have exhaust, just like your car. Your cells are internal combustion engines. So why do we build up these toxins? Well, number one, we have I believe it's 350,000 man-made chemicals and byproducts that we've made in the last 150 years. And these are put together helter-skelter with no real caution as to what they're doing to the life on this planet, really. A lot of them are put together for convenience, for monetary gain, and or for protection-ish, like, weapons of mass destruction. We think we need all this stuff. But what happens is your liver is like the number one detoxifying organ in your body. It's like a big oil filter it filters your blood, what goes through your heart. It filters each quart of blood 4 times a minute. That's how fast that blood circulates through your body, delivering nutrients to 75 trillion cells, going through the lungs so it gets oxygenated, passing through the digestive blood system so it can get loaded up with nutrients, and then delivering all that to the 75 trillion cells, and then taking away the dirty dishes, the toxic byproducts from the combustion of energy inside the cell. It's like, Uber drivers going to 75 trillion cells, giving you what you ordered, but they don't take away the toxic waste. So those toxins get back into the bloodstream, go through the heart, and get pumped through the liver. And the liver is supposed to separate it. It's like your recycling center. It's going to put combustibles here, and it will burn things for energy. It's going to put, things that can't be burned, like plastics, here to get dumped out of the body, usually the large intestine. Big fibers, it's going to go through the large intestine. And then acids and water-soluble toxins are going to be put back through the bloodstream to be run through the kidneys and out through your bladder. And this is a real cool recycling center. It's just, you put food in, you use it, you recycle it, it goes out. And as long as it's running well, you're going to be happy and healthy. Your immune system is going to be going, your digestive system will function well, your circulatory heart system, your respiratory will be okay, your musculoskeletal, and your brain will function because it's clean. But what happens for many, many different things, and is the breakdown of our filtration system in our body. It's going to happen very rapidly or slowly over time. Now, we all know that we have 4 generations of toxins that are passed down through mom's umbilical blood that we get as infants or fetuses. And so the Industrial Work Group did a study, found 278 chemicals that are in the blood of fetuses, umbilical blood of these children that haven't even lived outside the womb yet. So 278 toxins passed down from mom into the babies, along with the heavy metals and these type of things. So we come out into this world maybe as bright, shiny beings in a body, but that body may or may not be as healthy as it could be. And then oftentimes, depending on your philosophy, you might decide that it's important to give it some other toxins to build up an immunity to it. And that's a whole nother subject. So regardless, you have this body that comes into this world, and now it's got to survive. And based on the decisions of the people that raise you, the schools you go to, the people you hang out with, your health is going to wax or wane. Now, fortunately for some and unfortunately for others, our genetics help dictate how healthy we are as we come down the chute and as we grow in life. You take 2 brothers or sisters, twins in the same family, and one twin might be chronically ill most of his life, and the other one's healthy as a goat. So what's the difference? A lot of it is genetics. A lot of it is what that baby absorbed coming from mom's umbilical blood, and the other one was able to filter out the bad stuff better. So when people come into my office, they have this whole history behind them, and they plop down in a chair and they say, I want to get healthier. I want to walk. I want to play golf. I want to play basketball. I want to just sleep better. I want to be able to walk. I want to play with my grandkids. My shoulder hurts. I can't play tennis anymore. Whatever those problems are, that is what is affecting your health in your life to a point that you find yourself in a doctor's office. And from my viewpoint, hopefully you'll find yourself into a very conservative, non-invasive type of doctor first, depending on the disease. Some are more critical and need to be handled right away, like go to emergency room if you need to. They always say, if this is an emergency, call 911, and you have to. But hopefully you'll catch yourself sooner. I've had over 21,000 patients come through my office in the 35 years I've been in practice. 2 out of 21,000 have come into my office and said, "Hey, I am really healthy. Can you help me become healthier?" 2 out of 21,000. So most people, including myself, because I was carried into a chiropractor, unable to walk at 20 years old, and I would have crawled out had I been able to, because I was scared to death of what he was going to find or do to me. But thank God, 2 friends held me up in front of the Bucky as he took an x-ray of my back. And then to my surprise, he came out, pointed to the x-ray and said, "When did you break it? When did you break your back?" Blew me away. 8 years of chronic very, very bad suffering and pain, off and on, trying to grow up, trying to be around your peers, you know, uh, doing a lot to drug myself so I could lessen the chronic constant pain that ebbed and flowed depending on what I did. But, that guy changed my life. And 2 guys carried me in there. I don't even know who they are. So, if you're listening to the show and you know friends that are in that boat, some kind of boat, tell them to come see me. I never charge to sit down and talk to people about their health. You never know. They can walk out, think I'm nuts, or they can go, maybe this guy's got something. I might want to dip my toe in the water and see if he can help, or I'm all in. This makes sense. Let's get her done. Because today is the day that you can make a decision to change your life. Too often, the same old is done. People get up, they're in a pattern. You don't realize that tomorrow could be your last day. Today could be any of our last day. So, what do you have to lose but decide to do something better? And you know what? You may get knocked down 100 times. Thomas Edison tried to create a light bulb 9,999 times. On the 10,000th try, he said, "Let there be light," and there was. He knew that a greater power had made it available to him. He just hadn't figured out how to do it yet. And we'd be in the dark. Of course, somebody else would have come up with it. But, you can change your life. You can do something to make your life better, or those you care about and love. And I hope you do, whether you come see me or somebody else, do it. Make a decision. You could go, I really encourage you to get outside today. Go walk along West Cliff or East Cliff, or drive down through the village. If you're unable to walk very far, just get in the car and drive and look out over the bay at Monterey and Pacific Grove. Look at the happy people walking around Capitola Village and go, you know what? This is just such a simple life. All I have to do is enjoy my life. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world. Yeah, we all will take different types of responsibility for that, but it can't own us, because the time it changes, good or bad, we'll probably not even be here. So, and even if we are here, let's enjoy it now. Get yourself healthy, um, do something for somebody else, talk to your friends, get them to come into the office, and then let's see what we can do to help people. So this is Dr. Duncan McCollum, McCollum Wellness Radio, and I hope that you're listening and enjoying the show, and maybe I've inspired you one way or another, either pissed you off or made you determined that you can do something, or you just go deeper into apathy. I hope that's not the case. And you know, I had this gentleman ask me the other day too, I think it might have been the same guy, what kind of ages can I do my soft wave therapy on, my laser on, the vibe plate, the PEMF machine, chiropractic, my cellular detox program, heavy metal detox program, all these things of which we do. And I pointed out that the two oldest patients that I've treated was a couple. They were 103 and 105. The gentleman was 105. And I have a picture of me and them in the office. And pretty interesting. They lived in Scotts Valley pretty much their whole life on a farm. They raised all of their meat, chickens, pigs, lambs, whatever they ate, cows, all of their vegetables, had fruit trees, and they raised, I think it was 4 or 5 kids. 2 or 3 of them have been patients, their grandkids have been patients. And they said, you know what? We just decided we're just going to grow everything ourselves. That way we can maintain what we put in our body. Now, that's pretty impractical these days, but it was kind of a cool thing because they were pretty darn healthy. Both of them had incredibly sound brains, very little peripheral or brain fog. And it was, let's see, they were in my office probably 10, 15 years ago, and they passed away, of course, since. But what a life. When we met her at the Santa Cruz County Fair, I believe. She came up. I had a booth there, chiropractic screening booth at the time. She comes up and starts dancing a jig, going, "Look at me, I'm in good shape. I can kick my foot up, and I'm 103 years old," or whatever she was. And it was like, okay, well, I want to be healthier. I want to come in. She was one of them. I want to see what you can do to make me healthier. So we got together, we did everything we could do. She was pretty darn healthy, but we helped her and just kind of improve things where you can, polish them up, dust them off. And she wasn't really going to change the way she ate because she ate incredibly clean. Probably one of the reasons she was so sound of brain and body is because of what she's put in herself. So many people come in and they go, well, I'm sick, I'm overweight, I'm tired, I got inflammation, chronic, I've been told I've got osteoarthritis or rheumatoid arthritis or psoriatic arthritis or chronic inflammatory bowel disease or, asthmas or allergies or sinusitis or whatever. It's all just a body that's not working right. I think diagnoses are the worst thing you can get because people want a diagnosis and then they go, oh, I got X. Oh, okay. Well, that's it. I got X. That's why I'm not healthy. So now you have this named something or other that allows you to remain sick. Maybe it allows you to look for a solution. I mean, obviously, if you have high blood sugar, then you need to figure out how to get that down. Now, taking metformin or insulin or various other things are one solution. Well, that's one handling. It's not a solution. It's just, putting off the inevitable, but figuring out, well, why? Why? Don't you remember when you were 3 or 4 years old and, I'm going to be a grandfather in another 2 or 3 weeks. And, I'm just looking forward to why, Grandpa? Why? Why is that? Why don't you start asking why? Why isn't my body healing correctly? Why am I having liver problem? Why doesn't anybody give me a way to improve it? We may not fix it completely, but if we can unburden it to any degree, you're better off. And that's not so hard to do. Sometimes people come in with things that I'll tell you, for some reason this year, I've seen the sickest people that I've ever seen. Now, I don't know if it's a product of that debacle a few years ago, whether they took things to try to prevent it, which didn't, or got it and they have the long haul type of it or whatever, or just the fact that the 250 billion tons of toxins are dumped on the planet every week, every year. 250 tons of toxins every year. That builds up. And that gets into our body. We know that plastic's in our body. We all have a size of a plastic spoon in our body that's affecting our hormones. Plastic is like an estrogen. Estrogens are cancer forming. We wear polyester. We drink out of plastic bottles. Some people microwave in plastic containers. And all of this stuff is, basically going to decrease your longevity or the quality of it. So, I hope this has been somewhat of an interesting show. Sometimes I come on and I want to hit from a different angle. So maybe I get people thinking a little bit more, because today is your new beginning. And you can go and tomorrow and be exactly the same as today, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day. And maybe you don't know how to change. Maybe you just don't have a clear path in front of you. If it's health wise, give us a call, McCollum Family Chiropractic in Capitola. You can go to my website, my brand new website, McCollumFamilyChiropractic.com. Lots of great offers there to see what we can do to help you. McCollum, McCollum. The vowels are in alphabetical order. That's the only way I remember, because I was dyslexic. McCollumFamilyChiropractic.com. There's, initial just chiropractic x-rays for $37. You can get and that's consultation, exam, and second day report. That's it. $37. If we can help you, we'll go from there. You can't even go out to breakfast for $37. This is a complete set of digital x-rays, spending an hour with me and, going over different things, and we can decide whether we can help you or not. I can't help everybody. I know that for sure. I mean, in fact, I don't help anybody. Your body simply decides to take its health back. All we do is remove interference, whether it's chemical, physical, and I give you some ideas emotionally so that your body can heal. And that's what you can do. Sometimes you just need to get a bottle of gratitude from us. Number one, 100% vitamin G, 100% gratitude, and start taking that every day, because that changes the chemistry. What you think about, you talk about. What you talk about, you bring about. So come and get a bottle of gratitude. We're right in Brown Ranch, next to FedEx, down from Trader Joe's, and we'd love for you to come in. We have people come in all the time. One lady came in and took, like, I think 10 or 15 bottles of gratitude with her, vitamin G. She was having a birthday party or something. She goes, "Hey, I want to give this to everybody." So we gave them to her. There's no charge for the gratitude. You get gratitude for free at our office. But that can go a long way to help you. And hopefully this has been a little bit of game changer for you. Maybe it's helping you think differently about your life and what you may do to become healthier, to change your life. Because again, today is the first day of the rest of your life. And you can either take it begrudgingly, excitedly, or monotonously. Or just give up. And I'm going to read this poem by Robert Service again. I read it early because it is something that I've remembered since I was in fourth grade. My dad read it to me and told me when he was about in fourth grade, he developed something called osteomyelitis in his right leg. And this was back when he was probably 1921 or somewhere there. And he was in the hospital and he heard the doctor tell his grandfather, his father, my grandfather, Fay, who was the editor of the paper in Coalinga, that he would have to, if it didn't get better, cut the kid's leg off. My dad heard that, jumped out the window and ran home. So my grandfather decided, we're not going to do it. We're going to try to save his leg. And they did. He lived to be 91 years old. My dad did. My grandpa, 97. So, you just have to overcome whatever it is and know that you can. And life it may not be any better, but at least he gave it a try, right? So I'm going to read this Robert Service poem again, Grin. If you're up against a bruiser and you're getting knocked about, grin. If you're feeling pretty groggy and you're licked beyond a doubt, grin. Don't let them see you funking. Let him know with every clout, got to put on my glasses. Though your face is battered to a pulp, your blooming heart is stout. Just stand upon your pins until the bugger knocks you out and grin. This life's a baldy battle, and the same advice holds true of Grin. If you're up against a bully, then it's only up to you. So grin. If the future's black as thunder, don't let people see you blue. Just cultivate a cast iron smile of joy the whole day through. If they call you little sunshine, wish that they'd know troubles too. You may grin. Rise up in the morning with the will that's smooth or rough, you'll grin. Sink to sleep at midnight, and although you're feeling tough, yet grin. There's nothing gained by whining, and you're not that kind of stuff. You're a fighter from a way back, and you won't take a rebuff. Your trouble is you don't know when you've had enough. Don't give in, grin. If fate should down you, just get up and take another cuff. You may bank on it that there's no philosophy like bluff and grin. So you know what? You just have to decide to make it go right. That's, one of my philosophies is the greatest test of a human being is the ability to make things go right. How right is right? What if you just upped your game 10%, 20%? You know, life is too short to just be mediocre. What would happen if you tried harder or if you did something to try to reconnect with somebody that you've lost in your life and you still care about? Maybe you have to say, I was wrong or apologize. So grin and go do it. You don't want to go to the grave with all this remorse in your heart. Today's the first day of the rest of your life. If future is bright, you could do anything that you want. You can, you know. So many people were successful from, their fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth decade. You just have to make the decision. So I hope this helps. I hope you find something in you that you want to change. It could be health, could be something with your family, your children, your grandchildren, great grandchildren, people you work with. It's up to you. You're the only one that has this information today. Do with it what you will, and don't be afraid of yesterday. Yesterday's gone, and today is your day. So make it that. And I really appreciate all being here. And we will hear you or talk to you next week. Hopefully, go out, enjoy the day, go look at the coast, enjoy the water. We'll see you next week.
I said something now I long for yesterday.